What we're covering now is the Circular E, the employer's tax guide. You want to make certain that you use the one that it comes with your copy of the contractor's manual, okay? Some people will pull one down off the internet, or they will get one from the IRS, a newer one, and use it for the exam. Don't do that. You've got to use the one out of the book. This may be 2 or 3 years old, but this is the one the questions are drawn from on the exam. It's a small document. Total reading pages are probably 30 pages, and you'll probably get about 25 questions out of here. 18 to 25 questions, depending upon the exam you get. That's a lot of questions in this little bit of space. So this is a very important document, and one that you want to spend some time studying. So let's review the Circular E. The deductions computed in the Circular E are your federal income tax withholding, Social Security, which is called FICA, Medicare and federal unemployment tax, which is FUTA. Okay. Employees are to file a Form W-4 before December 1st of each year. The W-4 defines their address, Social Security number, marital filing status, and their number of withholding allowances. A question that comes up on the exam all the time is what document defines the address, Social Security number, marital filing status, and the number of withholding allowances, W-4. Backup withholding. If you're required to file a 1099 on an independent contractor or material supplier, or persons to whom you paid interest, dividends, rents, royalties, commissions, non-employee compensation in the course of your trade or business, and the payee fails to furnish you with a taxpayer identification number, TIN, or Social Security number, then generally you must withhold 31% of the taxable payment. FUTA, Federal Unemployment Tax. FUTA is filed on Form 940 or 940EZ by January 31st. These are a lot of simple questions they ask on the exam, like when must Form 940 be filed by? You know, or what form do you file your FUTA tax on? Easy questions, very easy to look up. You got to get all the easy ones right. Form 941. All employers must file Form 941 on a quarterly basis and deposit any income tax, Social Security, and Medicare taxes. You pay these taxes on Form 941 if your total tax liability for the quarter is less than $1,000. If all taxes were deposited on time, you are given a 10-day extension for filing. You have to pay the taxes by the ending date, by the due date. But you can file your paperwork as much as 10 days later. And so they will ask you a question out of this list right here. You know, for the second quarter, which ends June 31st, what's the due date? Or when is the last date you can file your paperwork? And so the second quarter ends June 31st. Your due date is July 31st, and you can file your paperwork as late as August the 10th if you have paid in all the money. Record keeping. Keep all your records of employment and taxes for at least 4 years. Federal IRS is 4 years, something you need to keep in mind. State of Florida, the Division of Business and Professional Regulation, you've got to keep all those records 3 years. And OSHA, you've got to keep 5 years. But IRS is 4 years. They normally ask you all 3 of those to try to confuse you. Employer identification number. If you're required to report unemployment taxes or give tax statements to employees or annuitants, you need an EIN. So basically the question is, who needs an employer identification number? And the answer is anybody who's got one employee. Wages and compensation. Wages subject to federal unemployment taxes include all you pay an employee in salaries, vacation allowances, bonuses, commissions, and fringe benefits. Wages not paid in money but in kind, such as lodging, food, clothing, services are generally subject to income tax. So you can't give them some goodies hoping not to have to pay income tax on it, because if they catch you, they will make you pay the income taxes on it and then probably give you a fine. Meals and lodging. The value of meals is not taxable income and is not subject to income tax withholding, and if they are furnished for the employer's convenience and on the employer's premises. So if they give you meals and or lodging on their premises for their convenience, in other words, so that they know you'll be there on the job, then it's not taxable to the employee as income. But if they pay for a motel room when you're working on a job, then that's generally considered income. Okay, and you have to pay all your compensations on it. Fringe benefits. You must include fringe benefits in an employee's gross income. Fringe benefits include cars or trucks you provide them, any airplane flights you pay for, free or discounted commercial flights, any vacations, membership in the country club or any social clubs, tickets to any sporting events, NASCAR events, anything like that. Those are all taxable income. And you must include those amounts, the fair market value of those amounts, as income for your employee. Supplemental wages. These wages are wages paid in addition to regular wages, and they include bonuses, commissions, overtime pay, payments for sick leave, severance pay, awards, prizes, back pay, retroactive pay increases, as well as non-deductible moving expenses. Calculating supplemental withholdings. There are two ways to do it. Basically, the easy one is the flat rate 28%. Okay? If you have been withholding income tax from an employee's regular wages, then use one of the following methods for supplemental wages. A flat 28%, or B, the supplemental and regular wages for the most recent payroll period this year. Then figure the income tax withholding as if the total were a single payment. Subtract the tax already withheld from the regular wages, withhold the remaining tax from the supplemental wages. Basically 28%. Social Security and Medicare tax. The Federal Insurance Contributions Act, or FICA, provides for a federal system of old age survivors, disability, and hospital insurance. Tax rates. The employee tax rates for Social Security is 6.2%. That's the amount withheld. The employer tax rate for Social Security is 6.2%. So the employee and the employer are paying 6.2% for a total of 12.4%. The wage limit base is $87,900. The employee tax rate for Medicare is 1.45%, the amount withheld. The employer tax rate for Medicare is 1.45%, the matching, for a total of 2.9%. There is no wage-based limit for Medicare tax. All covered wages are subject to Medicare tax. Advanced Earned Income Credit. This is just something they want you to know about, because some people apply for this, are eligible for this because they have children and they want to make sure they get paid. An employee who is eligible for the EIC and has a qualifying child is entitled to receive EIC payments with his or her pay during the year. To get these payments, the employee must give you a properly completed Form W-5. Depositing taxes. Income tax withheld, Social Security, and Medicare taxes are to be filed on Form 941 at a local Federal Reserve bank or depository. Form 945 is for filing non-payroll tax liabilities, and payroll and non-payroll may not be filed on the same form. So 945 is for non-payroll tax liabilities. 941 is for payroll tax liabilities. Cannot put them together. Depositing on time. To be considered timely, the funds must be available to the depository or FRB on the deposit due date before the institution's daily cutoff, which is 2 o'clock. However, a deposit received by an authorized depository or FRB after the due date will be considered timely if the taxpayer can establish that he or she mailed the money in the United States at least 2 days before the due date. So if you put it in the post office at least 2 days and you get some sort of confirmation that proves that you mailed it off, delivery confirmation, that also qualifies. Deposit penalties, 2% late fee on deposits made 1 to 5 days late, 5% late fee on deposits made 6 to 15 days late, and a 10% fee on deposits made 16 or more days late. What they'll typically do, they'll ask you one easy question like you're 15 days late or 18 days late, what is your penalty? And then the next time they will ask you to calculate the penalty. You owed $4,200, you were 15 days late, what is your penalty? Calculate it, figure it out. Filing Form 941. Form 941 must be filed each quarter. Penalties for late payment. For each whole or part month a return is not filed when required, there's a penalty of 5% of the unpaid tax due with that return. The maximum penalty is 25%. Also, for each whole or part of the month the tax is paid late, a penalty of 5% of the amount of the tax generally applies. The maximum penalty is also 25%. Federal unemployment tax, or FUTA as it's called. The test for FUTA. You paid wages of $1,500 or more a year for any calendar quarter of the present year and the previous year. You paid $1,000 or more to household employees in the previous year. You paid farm workers more than $20,000 in any calendar quarter, or employed 10 or more farm workers for 20 or more weeks. When you're computing FUTA tax rate is 6.2%. The tax applies to the first $7,000 you pay each employee as wages during the year, and it's paid by the employer. Calculating tax liabilities. From Form W-4, obtain the employee's filing status, either married or single, the number of withholding allowances claimed. From the time card, obtain the employee's gross wages subject to income taxes. With this information, you're ready to go into your Circular E, wage and tax tables, and calculate the income tax to be withheld on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. And you write down this amount from the tables. 2, calculate your Social Security, your FICA. Refer to the Circular E for your current rates. Now, currently it's 6.2% times your wage rate up to an annual maximum of $87,900. And then you're going to pay 1.145% wage for Medicare on the total wages, no maximum. There's no cutoff point. 7.65% total FICA and Medicare deducted from the employee's check. The employer must match each of the FICA and Medicare deductions made by the employee. These are matching funds of 7.65%, which are contributed by the employer, making the total payment 15.3% of gross wages. Calculate FUTA, federal unemployment tax. This amount is paid completely by the employer. Who pays FUTA? The employer does, never the employee. It's against the law to charge the employee. The FUTA tax rate is 6.2% on the first $7,000 of annual wages. If you pay SUTA, which is state unemployment tax, which we don't have in Florida, the state up to 5.4% may be deducted from the 6.2% paid to federal unemployment tax, leaving a balance of 0.8% to be paid on Form 940. If you're in another state, you can deduct 5.4% of any SUTA or state unemployment tax. We don't have that in Florida, but they still ask this question on the exam.